Solana, Inter Miami, 2025 MLS Cup champions. They finally did it. When they signed Messi in 2023, this was always the goal, the objective, and they did it yesterday, man. They're the champions. How are we feeling after that huge win for your club?
Oh man, we can finally breathe a sigh of relief over here just because, as you know, Inter Miami is the villain of the league, and there's been so much talk amongst the other 29 fan bases throughout Messi's tenure in MLS and with Inter Miami, and how everybody's saying that the league is paying for him and everybody this and everybody that. And when he came up short last year, obviously everybody was extremely happy, and they love to just throw it on Inter Miami. But this year, let me tell you, Will, it's going to be a couple of months of interesting stuff on social media, in the news, and with everything going on, because Inter Miami finally, like you said, has won the MLS Cup, and it looks good on Leo Messi, man. The Phillips Anschutz Trophy looks real good on Leo Messi, him lifting it up, and what a way to send off Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, right? Their last professional game ever. You saw the emotion that Jordi had in when Inter Miami scored that third goal. And it was just unbelievable to take in with the fans and with everybody that was there. Really, although I think the MLS could have put it on a little bit more in terms of the presentation and what they did, I think overall it was a fantastic event, and I'm happy, man. I'm happy, and I'm excited to talk about Inter Miami and their championship.
So let's backtrack a little bit, right? They signed Messi in 2023. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are 550 subscribers away from 12,000, and our goal is to hit that by the end of the year. And with your help, I know we will do it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Now, back to the video. They signed Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba shortly after. They appoint Tata Martino to be the manager in 2023. Halfway through the season, they win Leagues Cup. They didn't make the playoffs in 2023. It was a uphill climb, right? They were just so far back. It was just really hard to make that difference of how bad they were in the season. 2024 rolls around. They're the favorites, right? They signed Luis Suarez. They have all these additions, the full season with the Barca boys. They end up leading the league in points. They win the Supporters Shield. They break the MLS points record, 74 points in a season. And it looks like they're going to cruise on to an MLS Cup final. Like they are the favorites to win it all. Then they get eliminated in the first round by Atlanta United. We know about this. Has been talked about for over a year now, right? And that was a point where a lot of people were wondering, okay, can they win with this core group of guys? Can they win with Tata Martino? Obviously, they fired him, but there was a lot of questions and what was going to have to change in order to get this thing to where they ultimately were at yesterday. And the first thing they did was they hired Javier Mascherano once they fired Tata Martino. And I want to talk more about him later, but it's just crazy to see, especially after these struggles they've had this season. It's crazy to see how much better the team looked at points last year, but ultimately failed. And then this team is the one who succeeded and actually won MLS Cup.
Absolutely. I mean, and Javier Mascherano said it in a press conference, I believe, after the New York City FC game. He said, we don't play a pretty brand of soccer, and you don't always have to play the prettiest brand to win. And that's one of the things that a lot of Vancouver folks yesterday came out and were talking about it. Vancouver dominated the game, and absolutely, they dominated in almost every single aspect except for the scoreboard. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right, Will, is what the score is on the after the 95th minute, whatever the referee decides to give, whatever the score is on there, that's what decides who wins and who loses. And fortunately for Inter Miami and their fans yesterday, it was 3 Inter Miami and 1 Vancouver. Funny enough, I called the score. I should have bet, man. I should have bet on that. I did bet on the Tadeo Allende goal, and I was happy that he got his goal and he was able to break the record. But talking about Mascherano, yeah, it's really incredible, right? It's incredible how he came from such a really criticized place, and rightfully so. Criticized by you, criticized by me, criticized by fans, criticized by a lot of people for the way that he was managing this team. And look, sometimes you just need to have a little bit of experience, undergo some of these things face to face and learn from your mistakes. And it looks like he did that in the second half of the season, because the last month and a half, 2 months, Inter Miami absolutely dominated the MLS, and they absolutely ran through the MLS in the playoffs. Other than that one misstep that they had in Nashville, I mean, they absolutely blew everybody out of the water.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because, like I said, the team in 2024 was very good. Scored a lot of goals, very exciting to watch. What do you think was the biggest difference between 2024's team and 2025's team? Now, Mascherano obviously figured things out and was a good manager, but Tata Martino wasn't a bad manager. I mean, he just had a bad spell. What was the biggest difference in this team versus last year's team that got them over the finish line?
The defense. I think the defense, the fact that they found somebody who can anchor that back line. And look, it wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always great. There was a lot of games where there was a lot of mistakes and they were continuing to learn. But I think the biggest thing was the defense. They got Maxi Falcon in there, who was an absolute anchor for the defense. And if you watch Inter Miami for a lot of the games, you'll see, and it happened a lot yesterday, you'll see that Inter Miami plays out of the back, and 95% of the time it goes to Maximiliano Falcon first. And he then decides, hey, do I switch it back over, to Noah Allen? Do I give it to Rocco Rios? Do we come out on the right side with Ian Frey? So I think that was huge. The other thing is, I think, is the continuity that they had on the defense, right? If you remember last year, Inter Miami had to switch on their back line a lot. They had a mixture of Toto Aviles. They had a mixture of David Martinez, Sergi Christoph, and a really a gambit of names that they went through. And this year, it was usually, a mixture of 2, 3, 4 names. But when it came to, like we say in Spanish, when las papas queman, when the potatoes start to get hot, they had a set back line. And I think that's really what made the difference when you compare this year's playoff run to last year's disappointment.
I agree defensively sound, which is kind of funny because they did actually concede more goals this season than they did last year, but I think they played more organized as a unit. I know it sounds funny to say, but they did play better as a unit in the back line in 2025 than they did in 2024. But also, too, one of the surprising things is the attack wasn't as potent in 25 as it was in 2024. Messi obviously was good. He's the MVP of the league whenever that gets announced. He'll be the first back-to-back MVP in MLS history. But you look at like Luis Suarez take a huge step back in 2025 compared to 2024. He scored 21 goals last year. I think he scored 9 or 10 this year. And I know he didn't start at the end, but he started every regular season game, except the one he got suspended for. I think he got suspended for a regular season game. Didn't he get suspended for the Leagues Cup one game? Or maybe it's future.
Yeah, for the future.
Leagues Cup. That's right. That's right. So he played in almost every game. He only scored 9 or 10 goals. So if I told you before the season started, hey, Luis Suarez is going to fall off a cliff this year, like he's going to drastically decline in his involvement in goals, chances created, and no one really else steps up until very late, you'd be like, oh man, this is not good. Like on paper, it looks bad, but this team just played so much better collectively. I feel like, especially when it mattered most. And one of my biggest concerns in 2020, or going down the stretch of the season or this entire season watching it, was they were way too reliant on Messi. They needed guys around him to step up. He can't do it all on his own. He has to have people, the supporting cast, do things. And Tadeo Allende is the first guy I think about just because of how disappointing he was at most of the season, but he had an incredible run in the playoffs, and he deserves a lot of credit for helping this team lift the trophy. I mean, he broke the MLS record for most goals in the playoff run, 9 goals in the playoff run. Players like him and Silvetti deserve a lot of credit, even though Messi's the guy, but the supporting cast really did pull through to help this team win.
Absolutely. And I think that was the biggest issue this year when you compare, the offenses last year to this year. Is last year you had Suarez finishing most of those chances. This year, like you mentioned, he just wasn't finishing at the same rate that he was last year. And we had a lot of struggles with Tadeo Allende at the beginning of the season through the middle of the season. You saw Messi leave him one-on-one with the goalkeeper multiple times. And there was a lot of frustrations within the fan base, within the fans, within the front office, and I'm sure within the team and with, amongst his peers on the team, there was frustration with that. But luckily for Inter Miami, he came alive at the right time towards the end of the season, and he started finishing those opportunities that he wasn't finishing at the beginning of the season. So it's a little bit of an enigma what happened. But I feel like Tadeo is more like the player that we saw towards the end of the season and during the playoff run than what we saw towards the beginning of the season. I think he started to get comfortable, and as well, when you pull off Suarez and you bring on Silvetti, and it's a little bit different because he stretches the field differently. He doesn't clog up the middle like Luis Suarez does, and then now Allende gets to make those diagonal runs inside versus only making the runs on the wing, which is what he was doing when Suarez was in there. And now you have a really fast player going one-on-one against some players that are not up to speed, and that's really what happened. I mean, he just passed by all the defenders on most of his goals, and he finished. And 9 goals, man, that's a lot of goals in what they played, 5 games, 6 games, 9 goals. That's
They
crazy.
played in, let's see, I
They
think they
played
played 6 games. 6
3
games.
and 3. Yeah, 6
Yeah.
games, 9 goals, and he breaks Pescadito Ruiz's record, which was up there since what, 2005?
2002.
Ooh, 2002.
Yeah. 23
23 years.
year old record. Yeah.
Not only
Yep.
that, Inter Miami reached 100 goals this season. Did you know that that's a record too?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because that's not really what you associate this team with, because it's kind of like what you said about Mascherano. It doesn't look pretty all the time, but it's productive. It doesn't look pretty at all. But I'm thinking about this too. I want to touch on like just the trophy, the significance of winning it too, because this is very important, right? This is the first trophy. Now they won Leagues Cup. That was the first year that trophy had ever existed. Not to take anything away from it. Obviously, winning a trophy is winning a trophy, but this is the trophy. This is winning the league. This is the most important trophy you can win in Major League Soccer, and they got there first. Is this now? Obviously, when they sign Messi and they bring a club to Miami, you're thinking of like the glitz, the glamour, like big club. You're trying to make it one of the biggest, not only in the Western Hemisphere, but in the entire world. That's what they're trying to do. Are we about to see a dynasty run? Like, how significant is this, man? I mean, they just won their first league trophy.
I think so, man. I think that that's exactly what Jorge Mas and Jose Mas and David Beckham have in their minds. They said it after the game yesterday. They said that the object for 2026 is to go after the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They already have the replacements in mind with verbal agreements for Jordi Alba and for Sergio Busquets. They have a DP spot available. And there's been a lot of rumblings, of course, around the world of who's going to be joining the Messi cast next. And are they going to be going after a 9? Is Suarez going to be gone? We're going to find out over the next couple of days, what's going to happen. And there's, if you're going to be on social media, make sure you're following us, because we'll definitely be bringing you all the craziness that's about to happen over the next couple of weeks within the MLS offseason. And more specifically, like you said, Will, what is Inter Miami going to build? And I think this is going to be, Messi 3.0, the next, project that they build around Messi, where they bring young players, fast players, because I think that's what we saw towards the end of the season, that's what works. You need to surround him with players who can get into space, players who can defend, and players who give 120%. That's exactly what Matteo Silvetti is. And that, like you and I have said in past streams, this kid, it could go down as the biggest selling for, in MLS history.
No, I agree. And the reason I ask about like the dynasty more specifically is because with some of the shortcomings we saw with Javier Mascherano, we kind of questioned if he was going to be the guy, or they're going to have to make another coaching change for the 4th year in a row, right? And he was able to adjust and really find his own as a manager. And he won. I wouldn't say he won me over, but I feel like he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. Now, I'm obviously still skeptical about some of his things he does, but he won MLS Cup. He literally did what everybody has been wanting to do for. If you're an Inter Miami fan, you've been wanting this for years. What more could you want him to do? So I was questioning if he could be the guy, because a manager is important. If you're going to lead a dynasty, you have to have a good manager in charge to do this. Not only to scout players, to pick certain players, to pick the starting formations, to bench a Luis Suarez when he's not playing well, for a Matteo Salvetti. There's just a lot that goes into it. But he has proven to be a very good hiring. And I do think the best is still yet to come with Javier Mascherano leading this new wave and success of Inter Miami.
I mean, no doubt, no doubt. You got to give him his flowers, right? Like we talked about at the beginning, he struggled for most of the season, but he won MLS Cup, and although a lot of fans are going to look back and say, look, we still don't like his brand of football. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, on his resume, it says MLS Cup champion, and you have to respect that. You have to respect that. He was able to manage the egos that he has in the locker room. You have to respect the fact that, like you said, he had the cojones to bench Luis Suarez, a historic goal scorer, in favor for a 19-year-old who was just signed a couple of months ago, and it worked out for him. It absolutely worked out for him, and for that, you have to respect him, and you have to, like I said, give him his flowers, and it's going to be interesting. What Inter Miami does, because there was at some points in the season when the media asked him, who do you want to bring, or do you have all the players you want? And he was very, very, he was very, I guess,
Open
I don't know.
direct about he was like open direct about they need more stuff. They need more. They need more.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so I'm excited to see what they do this offseason when he might have some more input into what players they bring, and when that happens, a coach is really responsible for that project, and we're going to see what happens in 2026. I believe they're going to build an absolute stud team for next year.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what happened. There was a lot of people thought that Vancouver was going to dominate Inter Miami because they had done
They
that in
did.
the CONCACAF Champions Cup in 2020, early in 2025, 5-1 aggregate, right? I mean, it was pretty bad. But this is just a different team. They're kind of like two different teams at this point. They don't really look exactly the same as they did 6 or 7 months ago. And I think I had confidence in Miami that they would be able to win this game. I thought it was going to be a tough battle. And like to your point, it was, Vancouver dominated between minutes 30 to probably about the 70th minute. They dominated completely. And that kind of worried me if you're worried Inter Miami fans, I'm sure. It worried me that it could get ugly, I guess I should say, because Inter Miami do have a bunch of old guys on the pitch, and if they look tired or fatigued, and even the young guys were looking tired and fatigued. Matteo Salvetti was looking tired. Baltasar Rodriguez had to be pulled out because he was looking gassed. A lot of the guys looked exhausted, and I thought it maybe could get ugly, but they were able to hold on and win. Um, that just, I feel like that was just such a monumental moment for this club and moving forward. And like now um, I guess you could say proverbial, or that barrier has been crossed. Now that they've got that out of the way, they've hurdled it, right? Now all bets are off, right? How that was the pressure every year to win that. Not that they don't, if you're a fan, that you needed them to win every year. You want them to win every year, but they've done it now. There's no pressure to win MLS Cup now. Favi and Rankel, our good friend, was saying, I don't know if Inter Miami will ever win MLS Cup with Messi. I think maybe his signing might have not lived up to the hype, is what he said. But now that it's happened, I mean, now, like you said, they're going for the CONCACAF Champions Cup final now.
Yeah, I would love to see what Favi says now. Now that Messi hoisted up the trophy, and he was there to see it. I saw in his stories that
Yeah.
he was there in person to see it. So it'll be interesting to see when you have him on next. When you ask him, what can you say about this now? I'll be tuning in. But yeah, again, I'm super excited. I'm super excited for what this offseason is going to hold. We're going to find out, like I said, in a couple of days, what Suarez is going to do. You already know that Busquets and Jordi Alba are gone, and there's a lot of contracts that are expiring on this team. Obviously, Rocco Rios Novos, his loan is going to come up. That's a conversation you're going to have. This guy was getting paid $130,000, and he's the MLS Cup champion, starting goalkeeper. So that's a conversation that you're going to have. Is Ustari going to retire? Yarborough, his deal is up. Obviously, Ryan Saylor most likely won't be renewed. Ian Frey is another name that you're going to have to talk about. A player who, had 3 years of back-to-back surgeries. Last year, obviously, he missed some time with that torn meniscus. He comes back, and he's now, you're right back MLS Cup champion. So a lot of interesting things are going to happen in this offseason for Inter Miami. And look, I know a lot of folks also say, hey, we don't want, or they criticize Inter Miami for bringing young Argentines or young South Americans, but I criticize the rest of the league for not doing that, because like I've been saying since they've changed to this model since Messi came, it should be the blueprint of every team to bring these young South American studs over to the MLS to bring some more attractive soccer. So, or sorry, football, like our president said. Yeah, that was I don't know what you thought about the draw. Not to get away from this, but it was interesting. I'm glad that Uruguay is playing both games in Miami, so I'll be able to get to see them play. But anyways, let's get back to Inter Miami.
Well, real quick, I want to touch on the offseason a little bit. You mentioned Jordi Alba's retiring, Sergio Busquets is retiring. I would assume Luis Suarez is out the door too. He's not playing anymore. He's not going to start going forward. And I think he wants to probably return to Uruguay and play for Nacional before he really can't play any longer. Be 39 years old in January. They do, and that's the thing. When you win an MLS Cup, obviously you're the last team standing. But Inter Miami still have a laundry list of things they need to improve. They still, especially if they want to win the ultimate prize of the CONCACAF Champions Cup that no MLS team has won since 2022, they're going to have to add some stuff. They need a new striker, a fast, pacey striker that can open the game up. Everything that pretty much the opposite of what Luis Suarez is at this point. I still think they need another goalkeeper to compete with Rocco. Ustari is washed. I think he's going to retire, probably like you said. Rocco, I do like. I'm still skeptical about him long term. He does have some good moments of brilliance. He was good in the playoffs. I still don't know if he's the answer if you want to really win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I don't know if he's good enough to do that. They need to add another center back. There's a couple of things, man. I expect there to be quite, and normally, Solana, you're going to find this out. You did last year too. Inter Miami did make a lot of moves, but when you win an MLS Cup, normally there's a lot of turnover just because they can't afford to keep everybody, and they'll make a couple tweaks to the team. So I expect this to be a very, very busy offseason for Inter Miami. They've already got both fullbacks, it looks like, set up, two new guys. We'll see what else they do in that DP spot. By the way, Timo Werner, seems like that's out. That's not going to happen. I was
Thank
always
God.
skeptical about that. I'm thinking the first red flag I read was when they said Lionel Messi has requested the signature and signing of Timo Werner. I'm thinking Messi probably doesn't even know who the hell this guy is. Are you kidding me? You think that's the guy he's asking to play for this team? There's no way. There's probably 100 players above him that he would want on this team before Timo Werner. So that was the first red flag. That sounded like some agent propaganda to try to get him a move to Miami. Not Messi. Messi did not ask to have him signed. So hopefully they don't sign him and they do better than that, right? Because you need someone younger and you need someone who's been more productive. He hasn't had a double-digit scoring season since 2019. That's
I
what
mean,
you
like,
want?
I could see him coming to the MLS because he wants to revive his career, but
Of
I
course.
just don't see him over at Inter Miami. I think Inter Miami is looking at a different style of player, and I agree. I thought it was pure smoke. That he that they reported that he was coming, and the fact that you mentioned that somebody said that Messi requested. I mean, that's laughable.
That's what I'm saying. There's like a handful of guys he would ever request, and it definitely is not Timo Werner. I swear, if I was a betting man, I don't even know if he knows who he is. And I'm not even joking. I don't
I
know if he
think
even knows who he is.
I think he'd request Mascherano to come back to the pitch and play center back before he would get Timo Werner to come over.
100%, 100%. And listen, they've got some flexibility. The DP spot's going to be crucial. They're going to have to use it on something in the attack, I think. Going to have to make some reinforcements, but you know what? This is exciting. If you're an MLS or an Inter Miami fan and you win MLS Cup, obviously you're going to be super stoked that you got this trophy, but you're also excited to see what's to come and what type of additions on the team you're going to make. Uh, One last thing, Solano, before I let you go, what would you grade this overall season? I know that you're probably going to say it's an easy one because of they won MLS Cup, but there were some shortcomings as well on the way through, like the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Would you give this season an A plus, or would you say it falls just short of an A plus?
I think it falls short of an A plus. I think this team really needed to be the last team standing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They needed to make that final. I think they did well in the Club World Cup. I think they, unfortunately, it got beat in that Leagues Cup final. But I think at the end of the day, you needed two trophies for this season to be an A plus, or at least another final. not losing to Vancouver in that semifinal, and that to me would have made it an A+. But it's definitely an A because you won the hardware that everybody wants to win. But again, short of an A+ because they needed to do a little bit more.
No, I agree. I agree. I think it's an A. I think it's short of an A+ for this season, and that's still a good season, man. It's still a good season. It could be worse. You could have lost two big finals, right? I do feel a little bad for Vancouver Whitecaps. Solana. Oh, and also too, Neymar rumors look like they are dead as well. So that's also a good news if you're an Inter Miami fan. Solana, I appreciate it. Before I let you go, where can the people follow you at, and where can they find your channel at?
Always at Dice El Dani. And I'm usually on Battered Herons and on This Is Football. Been throwing up some nice shorts lately. So if you guys want to check out what it was like to live the Inter Miami game yesterday from the La Familia section, go check out on the This Is Football YouTube my short that I put up there. It was awesome, man. It was awesome.
Well, congratulations to your team, man. Enjoy it. It's the first ever. You'll never forget it. You were there, especially with some family. It's going to be something you cherish the rest of your life. So, congratulations to Inter Miami fans on an incredible win. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you like this, make sure you give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.